Hello friends, in this video lecture we will discuss peptic ulcer disease. Now ulcer is defined as discontinuity in the epithelium. Peptic ulcer disease includes duodenal ulcer and gastric ulcer. So peptic ulcer disease is most often associated with H. pylori induced hyperchlorhydric chronic gastritis. As we saw, or as a long-term consequence of H. pylori chronic gastritis, the first consequence was peptic ulcer disease, so which is present in 85% to 100% individual with duodenal ulcer and in 65% with gastric ulcer. So the presence of chronic gastritis can help to distinguish peptic ulcer from acute erosive gastritis or stress ulcer. So peptic ulcer disease may occur in any portion of GI tract that is exposed to acidic gastric juices. However, it is most common in gastric antrum and first part of duodenum. So peptic ulcer disease may also occur in esophagus because of gastroesophageal reflux disease, or sometimes with ectopic gastric mucosa, as in case of Meckel's diverticulum sometimes has ectopic gastric mucosa. So that also may result in peptic ulcer disease. So pathogenesis, the predominant factor is imbalance between mucosal defensive factors as well as damaging factors. Thus, peptic ulcer disease generally develops on background of chronic gastritis because chronic gastritis due to H. pylori causes hyperacidity for a long period. The reason why some people develop only chronic gastritis while others develop peptic ulcer disease are poorly understood. Both factors as well as the strains of H. pylori can be responsible. So H. pylori infection and use of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs are the primary underlying cause. Although more than 70% of individuals with peptic ulcer disease are infected by H. pylori, only fewer than 20% develop peptic ulcer. Again, it depends on host factors as well as strain of H. pylori. The gastric hyperacidity that drives peptic ulcer disease may be caused by H. pylori infection, parietal cell hyperplasia, excessive secretory response, impaired inhibition of stimulatory mechanisms such as gastrin release, cigarette smoking that impairs mucosal blood flow and healing, and high dose corticosteroid that suppresses prostaglandin synthesis and impairs healing. In Zollinger-Ellison syndrome, there can be gastrin secreting tumor. Chronic renal failure and hyperparathyroidism, there can be hypercalcemia that stimulates gastrin production and therefore increase acid secretion. Alcoholic cirrhosis, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, self-imposed or exogenous psychological stress may also cause increased gastric acid production. So morphologically, 4 times it is more common in proximal duodenum than in stomach. Duodenal ulcer usually occurs within a few centimeters of pyloric wall and it involves the anterior wall of duodenum. While gastric ulcer generally occurs in lesser curvature. So in 80% of the cases it is solitary ulcer. Lesions that are less than 0.3 cm tend to be shallow, while more than 0.6 cm tend to be deep. The classical peptic ulcer is round to oval, sharply punched out defect. The depth of the ulcer may be limited to muscularis propria or by adherent pancreas, omental fat or liver. Hemorrhage and fibrin deposition are often present on the gastric serosa. So as you can see in this microscopic view, discontinuity in the epithelium, hemorrhage and necrosis. classically, uh, ulcer, peptic ulcer has four layers: necrotic debris, below which there is non-specific acute inflammation, below which there is granulation tissue, below which there is fibrosis. So these are the four layers. Perforation into the peritoneal cavity is a surgical emergency that may be identified on upright standing X-ray of the abdomen as free air under the diaphragm. In active ulcer, the base may have thin layer of fibrinoid debris underlaid by a predominant, below which there is neutrophilic inflammatory infiltrate, beneath which there is active granulation tissue infiltrated with mononuclear leukocyte, and a fibrous or sporogenous scar, the fourth layer, which forms the ulcer base. Vessel wall within the scarred area are typically thickened and are occasionally thrombosed. Scarring may involve the entire thickness of the wall and pucker the surrounding mucosa into folds that radiate outward. So, what are the clinical features? Clinically, patients tend to be middle-aged to older adults presenting with epigastric burning or aching pain. After a period of weeks to months of active disease, healing may occur with or without treatment. Chronic recurring lesion has high morbidity than mortality. The pain tends to occur 1 to 3 hours after meal during the day and is worse at night and is relieved by food or alkali in case of duodenal ulcer. In case of gastric ulcer, nausea, vomiting, bloating, belching and significant weight loss are additional manifestations. With penetrating ulcer, the pain is occasionally referred to the back, left upper quadrant, and it may sometimes misinterpreted as cardiac in origin. So now let us just compare the difference between duodenal ulcer and gastric ulcer. First of all, the incidence, it is 4 times more common than the gastric ulcer. Gastric ulcer are less common. Age group is 20 to 25 years in case of duodenal ulcer, while it is beyond 6 decades in case of gastric ulcer. Both the ulcers are 4 times more common in male compared to female. In duodenum, it is the first part most commonly affected. In case of gastric ulcer, it is lesser curvature. In duodenal ulcer, food relieves the pain. In case of gastric ulcer, food aggravates the pain. Night pain are common in case of duodenal ulcer. It is not common with gastric ulcer. Vomiting and hematemesis are common in gastric ulcer. There is no vomiting in duodenal ulcer. Melena is more common in duodenal ulcer. As food relieves the pain, there is no weight loss in case of duodenal ulcer. And here in gastric ulcer, food aggravates the pain, so there is significant loss of weight. Duodenal ulcer causes deep tenderness in right hypochondrium, while gastric ulcer causes deep tenderness in epigastrium. So these are the difference between gastric ulcer and duodenal ulcer. So concurrent therapies for peptic ulcer disease are aimed at H. pylori eradication and neutralization of gastric acid, primarily with proton pump inhibitors and H2 histamine receptor antagonists, and generally the medical treatment is sufficient. Surgical approaches are not very commonly used. However, these are enterectomy to remove gastrin producing cells and vagotomy to remove the acid stimulatory effect of vagus nerve, which were very commonly used earlier. So this was about acid peptic disease.